think it's a timing issue. I can say with pretty good confidence that it's really just a timing issue. I don't really rewatch movies. And when I do, I have, well, let's call it a refractory period, for lack of a better term. I just don't want to watch that same movie again for like 18 months or 2 years or something. There are some exceptions. Smokey and the Bandit, Nightmare on Elm Street, Uncle Buck, I could watch those all the time. But generally, I'm not a rewatcher as much as my two partners here are. Therefore, when Christmas rolls around, I'm just not in the mood to watch the same movie year after year. It's not been long enough. I don't actually seek out to watch any Christmas movie, but there are a couple. Bad Santa I will watch every year. And also the one that we're talking about today, The Muppets Christmas Carol. And I know the story of The Muppets Christmas Carol like the back of my hand. Because I've watched it every year for 30 years. Usually on Christmas Eve. It's a tradition. I've now gotten other people into the tradition that come over to my house to watch it on Christmas Eve. Anyway, let's talk about it. I'm joined by my two compadres, the Muppet Guru, Uncle Dew.
That's a good beginning. It's creepy and kind of spooky.
That's true. And then there's the other guy, who I don't know how is my best friend after never having seen this movie, but it's true, Mr. Randy Kirk.
Yeah, and I don't have anything Muppets to say, but hello. Hey, everybody.
Sorry, Rand.
Happy holidays.
I'm the Frage. I'm not Charles Dickens, and I don't claim to be, but I gotta ask you, brother, what's the deal? You've heard me putting this over for decades at this point. You've got 2 children.
Well, I knew about it. I was raised on Muppets and Muppet Babies and all that.
They'll make your dreams come true.
Yeah, so I knew all about this movie. I knew exactly what it was about. So I had no excuse, and I've been hearing the two of you talk about it for as long as I've known you. Yeah, but so with the Muppets being what they are now, I know that they did the Muppets movie with Jason Segel and Amy Adams in
Great movie.
2007.
Correct.
Yeah.
So you like that, Uncle Dew?
I like the new one, yes.
Yeah, I do too.
It had a comeback of sorts, so neither Mason
kind of
or
like
Morgan.
Kim Kardashian. I'm pretty sure that had a comeback.
Yeah. I did not have the Kardashians on my Muppets bingo scorecard.
But yeah, there was literally no excuse for me to have not seen this movie up to this point. I have seen other Muppets movies. Including, I think, the Treasure Island one.
Love that one.
And Takes Manhattan.
Yes.
Take Manhattan.
Yep. Yes.
Jason takes it also.
Yes.
He took
not the same way. There was no mustache involved in Jason. But amnesia.
So anyway, no excuse for me never seeing this movie. And I knew all about it, and that's it. So
I guess we should caveat that.
Let's
caveat.
A point of clarity.
Okay, you need some, Mr. Hams.
clarity.
So let's talk to them about the cut that we're watching.
So we all watched the only version of this movie that actually matters, which is the longer one. And that, for those of you that are not familiar, which Randy is probably one of them, includes the dramatic song "When Love Is Gone," where Michael Caine is singing to his...
No. Belle...
I'm sorry.
Belle is singing to Michael
right.
Caine.
And that, for reasons that are fairly obvious, in a kid's movie, was like chopped out of the movie.
Jeffrey Katzenberger did not like it. Or Katzenberg.
Jeffrey Katzenberg is...
Too sad for children.
But you know what? That guy is an absolute genius when it comes to things, and I don't know. I don't want to go down the road.
But it jarred the edit.
So
right?
It did, right? So it's super bizarre when you take that scene out of the movie. For one, let's just say you get to the end of the movie and you've got the great song in the end of the song, "When Love Is Found," which makes no fucking sense if the love is not gone to begin with.
So the funny thing is they took it out, right? And certain releases, the UK releases had it, certain VHS copies had it, but after a while you just didn't get "The Love Is Gone." It is considered a piece of lost cinema. The true negatives have never been found. So up until last year, when Disney Plus was like, oh, by the way, we have the good cut, the director's cut, is actually cut from interpositive footage, which does color grading and testing when it comes to film, which is almost as good as that cellular negative. And so that's how we have the now 2022 version with The Love Is Gone Returned.
So my DVD copy has it.
Yes.
They put out a DVD.
2012.
It had to have been earlier than that. Or maybe I was just watching my VHS prior to the 2012. But in 2012, they put out a DVD, and you can choose. Mm-hmm. That's the one with the really fun interactive menu where Kermit like bounces around and talks to you.
And
it's the greatest menu since maybe The House of a Thousand Corpses.
Oh, great menu.
And in that one, you get to choose which version you want to watch. And the normal version is in widescreen, and the good version with all the footage is in full screen. Mm-hmm. And so I literally will watch it in the bad full screen, blurry, to get the full version.
Sure.
And now it's on Disney Plus, and it's great because you get to actually watch it cinematically.
It's the 4K transfer. And
right.
So, curious, I have two questions here.
Yes, please.
So, number one, I'm going to crack this.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have anything to crack?
No. I'm holiday cheer with a little bit of Dr. Pepper and triple sec.
So, number one is, why would anyone choose to watch the version without the song?
Well, it was the only thing available for a while.
Now, today.
Right.
Is there a reason? So
there is none whatsoever.
Why do they... I mean, I know that they allow both options, and I guess you should, but why wouldn't they just have it as the correct version?
I think up until last year, when it was actually digitally transferred to make the 4K version that is played on Disney Plus right now, that it was so hard to get a good transfer, and because they couldn't get the full scope of it, they had that original cut on there. And so we get this jarring edit where all of a sudden, Ebenezer's got a wet face and Rizzo is crying, and you're going, why is Rizzo crying?
Right.
This doesn't make any sense. It's a very weird edit when you do see without the...
So in today's day and age, there should be no excuse for not watching...
There should be none whatsoever.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
I just didn't know if there's a reason why they kept it as two separate versions, or...
Well, yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. And they did put out a Blu-ray at some point.
Yeah.
And I specifically did not buy it because it didn't have the other version on it. And I was like, I'm not doing it because that's stupid. I'm not going to get rid of this song. I get it. It's a slow part of the movie. Mm-hmm. It's not really for kids. Kids don't understand. If your 6-year-old daughter watched it...
Yeah.
She'd be into it, and then that scene would come, she'd probably get bored.
In the movie itself, honestly, this is one of the darkest version, besides the new Guy Pearce FX version of...
The George C. Scott is pretty dark, too.
This the songs are dark. This is the first...
Well, they're not all dark.
This is the first film to show Tiny Tim in such a way that he was... very, very sick. He's coughing and that same thing. No other films, the George C. Scott, really showed Tiny Tim in that pneumonia sort of haze.
Right.
And so there was a lot of things about this where everybody was like, and like I said, Rizzo has that line, are you sure this is for kids?
Yeah.
So, sorry, a little bit of, whatever.
That's fine. I love everything about this movie, as you know. Mm-hmm. So let's see. Jim Henson dies.
In 1990.
Yeah. And I don't know if this was in production at that point. It might have been. But either way, so his son takes over, and it's his first directing job, I believe.
Correct.
And is this also the first gig for Steve Whitmire as
That
Kermit?
is correct. Mm-hmm. That is why... So that funny point of order that I have, fun fact with Uncle Do, the reason why Kermit has a reduced role and that we see Gonzo most of the time is, one, Steve Whitmire was an unproven, untested Kermit. Nobody knew exactly how they felt as Jim not being Kermit anymore. And so, this is what everybody considers is a turning point for the Muppets. You know, Jim had passed away in 1990. This is the first production that they did as a whole. This is Brian's first production, as opposed to being a second director on everything else or a performer himself. Steve Whitmer gets a reduced role because he's not proven or tested as Kermit, like I said.
But in a way,
this is the first Disney-produced Muppet. At this point in time, Disney now owns Kermit, essentially.
For my generation, born late 85.
this is the Kermit you know,
that's
right?
the Kermit voice that I know,
Yeah.
And really, I mean, in a way, it's kind of the Kermit I know, and just because, I don't know, I guess it's the one that I've heard the most often because I watched this.
Movie was 79, right?
Correct.
The one with the Paul Williams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Paul Williams did the music.
Paul Williams did the.
We'll get to him in a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I never saw that. I never saw the Muppets movie from 79.
So Jim, before him dying from pneumonia, he was in the process of selling the Muppets to Disney. That deal kind of sort of fell apart. It did come together towards there. Disney kept pushing. There's a reason why you don't see the Sesame Street graying in Muppets Christmas Carol, because they have nothing to do with the Muppets anymore because they're their own entity.
I'm glad that they were separate.
Because Disney was not allowed to touch them. So you won't see... ever again, you'll see Kermit essentially on Sesame Street every once in a while because that was part of the deal. But you will never see Big Bird or Cookie Monster or Elmo ever again
as
in a
part of a Muppet.
Yeah, not like back in the day.
Right, where they were all kind of intermingled.
In our last episode, I said that this wasn't in my top 5. I meant this wasn't at the top of my top 5 Muppet Christmas. So this is number 3 for me.
All right, well.
So what are the top 2?
So it goes Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, which we'll talk about soon, and then A Christmas Together, John Denver and the Muppets, then A Muppet's Christmas Carol, and then A Muppet Family Christmas, and then The Christmas Toy.
All right, then.
I know The Christmas Toy.
You do?
Yes.
All right, so, Randy, you're not talking a lot because Uncle Dew is a fountain of knowledge here.
Sorry.
No, I love it, yeah.
The movie opens with... obviously, like a wonderful song and dance, where you get introduced to human characters and non-human puppets, all singing about the terrible Mr. Scrooge. I know you're not a musical guy in general, but I'm curious, if after 5 minutes of this movie, if you already decided maybe this isn't for me.
No, actually, I wrote a note about the opening, and it was really just the overture before the musical part.
Okay.
But that sprawling shot over the rooftop.
Yes.
Oh, that was a beautiful shot.
Yeah.
And I was all in. It was cute, but also beautiful, and just a great shot. And then during that first, maybe not the first musical number, but about Scrooge.
This is the first one.
When Michael Caine comes in, man, he just owns Scrooge.
I agree.
He is Scrooge.
So, fun fact with Uncle Dew, 2 things, first of all. First one, this is the second Charles Dickens Christmas Carol production on Shepperton Studios, the studios that this was filmed in. The first one being 1970's Scrooge with Albert Finney, which is also a favorite of mine, and our good friend Joel's.
Oh, yeah. Joel. Shout out to Joel.
Joel.
Also a musical. To your point as well, Michael Caine.
Yeah.
He went hard for this Scrooge role. And because his friends, like Roger Moore and Niven and a few others, had been in the Muppet show that shot in the UK, he heard how much fun they had shooting those shows, and he was always jealous that he didn't get a chance to do that. And so when he heard that they were doing Scrooge, he did everything in his power, or not Scrooge, but A Christmas Carol. Mm-hmm. He did everything in his power to push himself as Scrooge. And so when he meets with Brian for the first time, by the way, he never knew that this was Brian's first directing gig, and when he did find out, he was very surprised. But he took...
Well, I mean, just that opening shot,
yeah.
I'll just use that as an example, but the rest of the movie was great, too. I mean, he nailed it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I thought he did a great job of directing.
So, Michael Caine went to Brian and said, listen, I'm going to treat the Muppets as fellow Shakespearean actors. It's not going to be a wink and a nod. We're all true professionals here. That is the type of movie that I'm going to give you. And Brian went, that's perfect. So there's a lot of memes out there that said Michael Caine treats his Muppet co-actors as Shakespearean actors. Why Tim Curry in Muppets Treasure Island thinks he is a Muppet.
Right.
in addition to...
That's true. But they're both... I don't want to say they're equally good, but
I think they are.
I love Treasure Island.
Back to Michael Caine. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, so you were talking about musicals.
Yeah.
And obviously that didn't really appeal to me. The songs, I guess we'll just start with the first one about Scrooge. I don't know the titles just yet, except for my favorite one. But it was a decent song, and it set the tone in a fun, cute way, and it does let you know, like, hey, this guy's not a good guy.
That timing when the cane comes down when he's walking
great.
through.
And I love the splashing through the puddles.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it was a cool setup.
I loved all of the little characters,
It paints you with indifference. I don't want to get copyright stuff.
Well, no, we won't. We won't. Yeah, I mean, we could both sing the whole score.
But it didn't turn me off. No.
Okay.
No.
It didn't. Okay.
The most hated and cursed. Sorry, I do the voices too when I sing
yeah, I'm realizing that. Sadly. When I think of the first one, I think of the no Jesus for us Mises is the line. And that little mouse family being the cutest goddamn thing that's ever been put on film.
It's pretty cute. Yeah.
Besides Bean Bunny.
Well, you're right. Bean Bunny is great. All right. Well,
is that the one shivering in the trash?
Yes.
Aw, that was like
get you every time, right?
Saddest little moment.
Right. How about when he's caroling at the beginning?
Governor?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Dude, I laughed out loud at that part. Yeah.
So, since we're talking about the music, all of the songs in this movie were written by the great Paul Williams,
Academy and Grammy award winning,
and he wrote for not only Kermit and the Muppets, but the Carpenters.
Three Dog Night.
Three Dog Night, absolutely. Yep, he was in Smokey and the Bandit. So
did he write Shambhala?
No.
Shit.
Old fashioned love song.
I mean, it's a great song. Shambhala is probably my favorite Three Dog Night.
So,
but anyway.
Paul Williams' long history with the Muppets. This is not his last outing with them, but this is his third. This will be his fourth writing with it. So he did the Muppet Show in '76. He had his own episode.
He wrote Rainbow Connection.
Yeah, he did.
I already knew that.
Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, my favorite, 1977, which is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It is beautiful. It's not my favorite, though.
79, Muppet movie, Rainbow Connection, and then here with Muppets
and
Christmas Carol.
I mean, he doesn't write a bad song.
This was his last effort for the Muppets?
No.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so they do Letters to Santa. He also did a few on Treasure Island, I think. I may be corrected, but
wow.
Yeah. So
Treasure Island was 95?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the next one. So this is 92, and then Treasure Island.
It's probably the last time. It is the last time I saw that one. 95 or 96 when it came out on VHS. Yeah.
So this, funny enough that you had said Treasure Island, this is the third to last as Frank Oz as Fozzie. Frank Oz at this point is going, well, I like directing. Everybody loved What About Bob?
Mm-hmm. I saw that in the theater.
I love that movie.
I know. and so he was like, well, being a puppeteer, being a Muppet person wasn't always in his plans, and so he wanted to move forward with directing. And so he did this as Fozziwig and a few others, Miss Piggy. That's why Miss Piggy has a reduced role. He does Treasure Island. He has a bigger role in Treasure Island. And then,
so this had to do with, I'm sorry, who took over for the voice of Kermit?
Steve Whitmire.
Okay.
The much aligned and much...
I love him.
But so he had a reduced role for a reason.
Correct.
This was his first effort. Is that why the Miss Piggy role was also reduced? Because she couldn't really work without Kermit?
Correct.
It didn't work?
Yeah.
Okay, got
so
it.
in the original induction of the film, Miss Piggy was going to be...
Yeah, she's Mrs. Cratchit, so it doesn't... Yeah.
Right. Miss Piggy was supposed to be the ghost of present or ghost of past.
Oh, okay.
And then Gonzo was supposed to be ghost of future, and you were just supposed to see a robe and then his nose. So that was the first iteration of this. They had gone through a couple of writing processes.
That's hilarious.
Jerry Jewell, longtime writer for the Muppets. He was an original Muppeteer with Jim, but then he became into the writer role of that. So Jerry Jewell is like essentially the Muppet writer, but he passed away in 04, I think, or 14, one or the other.
Wow.
Something
I know
like
there's a 4.
I don't know. We really went off topic here.
So sorry.
I don't like how that would have turned out. I like the way it turned out
Yes.
now
Mhm.
better.
Yeah.
With him as Bob Cratchit. Going back to the songs and Paul Williams, and you said, Randy, you said you didn't know the names of the songs except for the one that was your favorite. I got to know which one that was. Now you got to look it up.
I got to confirm it.
Okay.
Because I want to say that the title is "It Feels Like Christmas."
Oh, that's my
So
favorite.
that
Yeah,
would
it
be
is. It feels like Christmas.
that would be the ghost of Christmas Present, who gets older with every scene.
And Heaven was the most identifiable character outside of like the Muppets.
Yeah.
But that's the image that I knew going into the movie.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that it kind of turned out to be my favorite.
Okay.
That whole, the middle part with the Ghost of Christmas Present.
Yeah.
That
Come
was,
in and know me better, man.
That was my favorite.
It's my favorite song, too.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's up there for me. It's probably number 2 for me, behind One More Sleep Till Christmas,
Of course,
which is
yeah.
probably my favorite Christmas song of all time.
Well, it's a cute song, but then at the very end, because he keeps saying "One more sleep till Christmas, one more sleep till Christmas," and then at the very end, Christmas Day.
Yeah.
it was funny,
Yeah.
and cute, and it's Kermit, and then you see like a shooting star or
Yeah.
something. It was like, or was it like?
Yeah.
It's a shooting star.
Yeah.
It was adorable.
Wasn't that one of the first times that they had Kermit without, like, you got to see his full body moving?
Right, so the walking scene was one of those technical things. I also wanted
The
to
ice
speak
skating?
I also wanted to speak to past, present, and future. Our original IP. They are the only puppets that were specifically made for this film.
It makes sense because
everything else is what
Right, current.
the technical term whatnots and other Muppets that they've
Okay.
had.
But they literally look like every other iteration of the
Yeah.
ghosts in every other, like the George C. Scott version looks exactly like that, which was only 8 years before this, And the Ghost of Christmas Present. I mean, he's got the headband and all that. Yeah, that puppet was so cool though.
Yeah.
Like what a great image. I love that puppet.
Yeah, he was really, really cool. And I like that sometimes, you get to wear it's a costume.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's
You know.
the in-person
Right.
puppet.
Right.
Jerry Nelson, the voice of Robin, and now Statler, who he took over for Jim, but Jerry also recently passed. He always recently had cannula, and so he also...
He was the voice of the Count, right?
He's Count,
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And then, he took over for Statler for Jim in the Marley and Marley scenes as well.
But yeah, the Marley and Marley song was fun.
Yeah.
I thought
it was a good use of them to be...
So, as you might know, Steve, that is the cut version of Marley and Marley on our newly bought soundtracks.
Yeah.
Steve and I both bought the LP.
Yeah, we got it.
The song, the extended on the LP is "We're Marley and Marley, and now it's time to part, to go back where they keep our kind, the wretched and the heartless. The news we've shared has got you scared. We're glad that we got through. So make amends and make some friends. The future's up to you." That's the full end. So this is a cut version of that song.
No shit.
I like that lyric.
Okay.
I always thought that part was a little cheesy, but also fun.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't have much of a role from that because, unfortunately, like I said, Statler was played by Jim previously, and then Waldorf was played by the guy who plays Gonzo, Dave Goles, who took it over for Richard Hunt, who passed away from complications of AIDS. He was the voice of Scooter. That's why we don't see Scooter much anymore.
Oh.
And so
Scooter died from AIDS?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know
Hunt,
that.
yeah.
I didn't know that.
About around the same time Jim had passed.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yeah.
I did, it's funny that you say that I never even put together that Scooter wasn't in this movie. And
you
I've seen
don't
this
have
movie.
Scooter for quite a long time.
Like-
I think up until the newest version of the Muppets.
The new the
Say-
07
Segel.
Jason Segel.
Wow.
Yeah, he's in that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, after 30 years, I never even put it together that he was missing. It's like the cook, where was Mrs. Peacock? She was, so one of us wasn't there.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I thought, because I made a note that there's nothing really truly new
Right.
about A Christmas Carol.
correct.
Except for the fact that they wrote these original songs, or they being Paul Williams.
Yes.
And then also just the charm of the Muppets. I did feel cheerful. I thought it was really cute, just the whole thing.
Yeah.
As you guys know, I don't love the musicals, but some of the songs were fun. We talked about that. So that's what I thought was unique.
No other Christmas Carol has Charles Dickens as a character. And Jerry Joel felt, and so did Brian, that the missing descriptions, like Dickens's descriptions for the scenes,
The narration
was missing, and that adds an aspect of that. And they knew how well Dave Goelz was doing as Gonzo, and they said this would be a perfect thing for Gonzo, which Gonzo only gets called Gonzo once in the whole movie. The rest he's Mr. Dickens or Charles Dickens.
That's fun.
I think
This is the only time we get Charles Dickens as a character.
Yeah, that's fun.
I like that.
I think that Rizzo the Rat is one of the most underrated aspects of this movie.
Sure.
He is comic relief. Again, it's a character that's non-essential to the story, and it's solely, like a comedy team, so to speak, with Gonzo. They play off each other, and he really has no importance. He's just here for the food, according to him.
Right.
So he's got a little bag of jelly beans. So I think I don't know. I feel like Rizzo is very underrepresented, and in the canon of the Muppets as
that's Steve Whitmer.
Also doing him. Okay.
Yeah. So that was his role to begin with in the first place. He also plays Wembley in Fraggle Rock.
Okay.
And so, of course he has that bit because he's been Rizzo since forever. And so, Steve Whitmer may not have gotten to be Kermit as much as he can, but he's still in other places within the movies.
Rizzo the Rat was a favorite of the movie. My two favorite characters are probably Gonzo and Fozzie Bear. I mean,
like in the Muppet lore?
In Muppet lore,
okay.
Yeah. I do love those two characters. But Rizzo was a top for this movie.
Yeah.
And perfect compliment, I think, to Gonzo's Charles Dickens.
Yeah, it was. Because I thought it was really funny when he jumped off the gate, and he's like, oh my God, he's so scared, and he said, whatever you're going to do about my bones or my body, and then he jumps off, and then he just walks through the gate.
Yeah.
I forgot my jelly beans. You can do that the whole time.
It was so good.
It's one of Rachel's favorite parts.
It was so well done. Yeah.
He's got a lot of good scenes. I mean, I think, Light the Lamp, Not the Rat is, one of the most quotable lines of the whole movie. Mm-hmm. And then, I don't know. I don't know where we're going to go. You got something you look like you want to say?
I got a ton of stuff. I mean, 9 pages. So producers originally wanted Jack Lemmon to play Scrooge. So they meet with him. And Jack Lemmon goes, sure, I want to be Kermit. Sort of tongue-in-cheek.
Right.
And so everybody's like, did Jack Lemmon lose his fucking mind? Like, what's going on here? And so, that didn't make up. And
that seems like a Saturday Night Live skit.
Right. So Peter O'Toole, George Carlin also approached to be Scrooge. Movie was originally planned to be a television special instead of an actual full-blown movie.
Can you imagine if George Carlin played Scrooge?
Would be absolutely not the same thing whatsoever. It wouldn't be as held in as much regard as it is now.
No.
But I mean, he's great. He could probably do a really funny version of Scrooge, but not kid-friendly. Yeah.
So, unfortunately, this movie, modest at the box office. It went up against a heavy hitter in
Home Alone
1992. Yep, Home Alone 2.
It opened the same day?
Yeah.
No shit.
Same weekend.
I just knew it opened the same year, and I was just assuming.
We saw a double feature. We saw Muppet Christmas Carol, and then we watched Home Alone 2.
They opened the same day.
Yeah.
Fuck. That's crazy.
So, it did. It Wade and Wander.
One of them is a good movie.
Well, what's funny is that Home Alone 2 is Fox.
Yeah.
And so they're both now owned by Disney. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, up until recently, and ABC played it maybe once or twice, and then Freeform played it once or twice, but never to be seen on TV. No reason why. Just didn't play it.
Just one of those weird Disney things.
Even though Disney owns like ABC and
Yep.
they could have played it on there every Christmas and they didn't.
Yeah, so up until like 2016, didn't show up for anything.
I don't ever
like
remember
it was on
watching it.
HBO off and on because they had it part of that old school Disney Vault licensing deal, where HBO got to play I think they got to play, was it Snow White? And they got to play other things that were like deep in the Disney vault that never got to be played elsewhere except for like HBO. And so this was one of those. You guys, Christmas Past effect,
Yeah.
technical part of that. 3 puppeteers in a pool in its water.
Yeah, I didn't read a lot about the trivia on this, but that's
Yeah.
one thing that I did read.
Shot in water, and
And-
then they green screened it.
One, I read it before I watched the movie. After watching it, number one, I could spot the effect, and two, I was so impressed by it because if I didn't know it, I wouldn't know how they did it.
I
loved
never
it.
even bothered to look that up. So now
like-
I'm going to, when I watch it again.
It was really cool to watch because, like, after reading it the first time and then watching it, it's like, oh, I see exactly how they did that. But I wish I didn't know that going into it.
I actually want to talk about poor Steve Whitmer.
What about him?
Unfortunately, he's not Kermit right now.
Well, that's true. I don't know the story behind that, but
He decided that he, being the only person to play Kermit, which isn't true, would be owed a little bit more money than what he was being paid. And Disney, being the entity that it is, decided no, that's not true. And so Steve Whitmer, unfortunately, got let go as Kermit. Now we have a third voice as Kermit.
What year was that?
just recently.
2020, I think.
2020. Okay.
Yeah, it was within the last 5 years.
Yeah. So it was a big to do.
I remember when it happened. I just couldn't remember.
One thing that I've always wanted, and he's kind of tipped his feet into the thing. Brian Henson, if you ever watch a video with him or an interview with him now, he sounds so much like his father.
Yeah.
He did the newscaster in some of the Siegel movies.
Yeah.
That was originally his father's role, and so he was like, okay, I'm going to try this again. I personally, and I think Rolf the Dog's back, but it's not played by Brian. Mm-hmm. I personally want to just have Brian give it a chance. I want to hear what Brian sounds like as Kermit.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Or as somebody, that his dad, because he does sound so much like Brian.
Similar enough, yeah.
Brian Henson's also married to Mia Sara, the love interest in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So.
Whom you had a big crush on?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh boy.
Legend? Come on.
So now you're jealous of Brian Henson.
No, absolutely not. Way to go, Brian.
All right.
Way to pull that.
This is one of the few movies that makes me tear up / cry every single time I watch it. Randy doesn't have tear ducts, so famously. So I don't know. He's only ever cried at like 2 movies ever.
I don't think any. I got choked up at the Green Mile.
And Marley and Me, he was stone cold. I'm not crying over this shit.
No.
I was sobbing like a baby.
Water is wet. What else is fucking new?
So like it's the perfect juxtaposition, right? You've got the scene where they're coming back, Kermit and Tiny Tim, and they're doing the little scat.
Bong.
Yeah, that. And you're like, oh my God, I absolutely love these two, and it's such a great family. And then you get to the end where Kermit comes back and Tiny Tim is dead. And, he says to Piggy that, they found a nice spot for him on the hill. And I'm just crying. I'm getting emotional right now thinking about it.
Yeah. I love at the end where Gonzo's like, and not dead.
Right,
Yeah.
Right. He did not die.
Yeah.
Which has also become like a meme.
One thing that I could say about the end is that I think that they should have spent a little bit more time on the happy, because it did seem kind of a gloomy film. I know it's a gloomy story.
Yeah.
But for a Muppets movie, I thought the ending could have been a lot happier. I don't know. It felt like the happy was such a...
Yeah.
Like, I thought it should have been extended a little.
Well, that's the problem with a lot of the Christmas carols. Like, Scrooge wakes up and he's like, oh, I'm a changed man, and then they go and parade through the... And it's always, it's always really quick like that.
This one felt really quick, though.
Yeah.
Because, so my two favorite versions are the Reginald Owen one.
Yeah.
And then the George C. Scott. Those are probably my two. Your Alistair Sim?
Yep.
That's your favorite.
Not my favorite, but it's up there for me. I love it a lot because Scrooge Goes to Hell, that's a lot of fun.
Right, yeah.
The technical that they did with that. I like that Marley a lot. The problem with being a really huge cinema Christmas Carol fan and seeing damn near every single version of this fucking movie is there's bits and pieces from every single one that I've seen that I absolutely love. Like Patrick Stewart as Ebenezer Scrooge is almost in compared to Michael Caine as Ebenezer Scrooge in this. The guy Pierce is okay. It's really long. They get crazy with a little bit of it.
Oh, there's a surprise.
It's 3 hours.
It is nearly 3 hours. Yeah. George C. Scott's okay.
You don't love it?
It's all right. I think the supporting cast has issues. George C. Scott's such a strong performer that everybody else around him pales in comparison. I just rewatched the other night because there was a moratorium on all my favorites because Rachel fell asleep in the chair and she's like, "Don't you watch that? I want to watch that with you." I watched the...
That's the most married thing you've ever said.
So I went to turn on...
It sounds terrible, by the way.
I went to turn on the gift with the Christmas Gift with John Denver.
Okay.
And she's like, "You can't." I watched the first 30 minutes. I'm falling asleep to this. You can't finish this movie. You have to wait until I'm awake to watch the rest of this. And I was like, okay, what the hell am I going to watch then? Shout Factory has the Henry Winkler American Christmas Carol.
Oh, I've never seen it.
It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's presented in America. Henry Winkler is somebody slayed, and it's presented towards the New Deal and the Depression, and he's visited by all these ghosts, and it's silly and ridiculous. But Henry Winkler's Ebenezer Scrooge is very ridiculous, and so that's why I love the bits and bobs of that one. I love the music from the 1970s Scrooge with Albert Finney. I don't believe Albert Finney is a Scrooge. I think everything else around it is funny and great. But, as a whole, I don't think I really have... I mean, Muppet's Christmas Carol might be my favorite Christmas Carol because of the Dickens narration.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's yours. And Steve, so this is your favorite iteration of Christmas Carol?
100%.
And so do you have a second?
Ooh. I don't know. I mean, the
Kelsey Grammer?
The C. Scott is good.
Yeah.
Also,
I like the C. Scott.
I just fucking love him.
I would say that's probably my next favorite, but it's so far down from below.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even close. There's something about the charm of the Muppets. And all of the production value on this show.
And the music is so fucking catchy.
All of it. There's not a bad song in the whole batch.
Well, okay, so I do. So I was talking about how gloomy it was or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you two both got into this as kids.
Yeah.
And so this came out when you're 12.
I was 12.
Steve's 12. And you are 9.
Yeah.
Give or take.
8,
9. And you ate this up as kids.
Absolutely.
100%.
You were not bored at all.
No.
Because watching this as now a 38-year-old man, I watched it and thought, if I watched it as an 8-year-old, I wonder, I might have been a little bored.
Sure.
Because I didn't watch it as a kid, so I had to think back as a kid, like I might have been bored. So
on this rewatch, I was a little bit more harsh about it because I never watched it in the frame that the way that we watch it
as a critic or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
So I see a lot of the Steve Whitmer trying to find his feet as Kermit. I see there's a vocal fluctuation where it's a little rough in certain things. Then his song, when he sings, they're a little off as well in certain parts.
You know, it's different though. I mean, it's fine because it's the only version we know.
Right.
It's like when your favorite band puts out a demo song for a song that was never released.
Yeah.
Okay? And you listen to it and you go, okay, that's a great song. And they never got to finish it the way they wanted it to, but that's the only version you know and you love it.
Yeah.
So that is the song.
Time Traveler. I love it.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So to me, all of the business about Steve Whitmer is moot because, like, this is Kermit and this is my movie.
Yeah.
And like, if he were different or whatever, if it was Jim Henson, maybe I wouldn't like it as much. I don't know. You know what I mean? But and it's something about like all the production of all the background.
Yeah.
Right. Like everything is a puppet. Everything moves. Every time I've seen this movie, I watch it every year, with maybe 2 or 3 years where I didn't, and like I always see something new. And I try to watch it on Christmas Eve. You know, one more sleep till Christmas Day. Right. So I don't know. That song to me, I don't know if it's a melody thing. I don't know what it is, but it's one of those like perfect songs for me.
Yeah. But speaking of Steve Whitmer and Kermit, there is one note that I actually just skipped right over. Is, you know, when he's asking Kermit Cratchit, asking Scrooge for the day off on Christmas Day.
Yes.
I think it's the rats,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's all the rats that are in there that are working with
The bookkeepers.
You'll be
The
sorry,
bookkeepers.
Ebenezer.
Yeah, so Kermit's going in there to basically be the scapegoat, you know, ask
spokesperson,
for the day off. And
How much is customary? The whole day.
the whole day.
It was the frog's idea.
That was, dude, I laughed so hard at it was the frog's idea because they thought he was going to say no. Dude, that was one of the top 3 moments of the whole
Absolutely.
movie. And I can't believe I just skipped over that note. But yeah, it
yeah.
was the frog's idea. That was great.
What were your other 2 favorites?
Well, the Ghost of Christmas Present.
Okay.
That Muppet, I guess
Costume, yeah.
Muppet.
But just that image.
Yeah.
I mean, it's perfect. It's happy.
Well,
It's,
my favorite thing about that specific Muppet is as those scenes progress, you see it it ages.
Yeah.
And as it goes, that was one of my favorite details. Even as a little kid, I went, he's dying. He only has this much.
And you know,
like
it feels like Christmas song.
Yeah.
And then the Know Me Better Man.
Yeah.
You know, that I mean, that was cute, fun, wholesome. And then just the third moment is the introduction to Scrooge.
Yeah.
Oh, at the beginning?
Yeah. I mean, that was a great.
I guess I should mention this because my wife said, make sure you tell him this. So if you do watch this again, when
I'm going to watch it in a few days.
when Honeydew and Beaker are in asking Scrooge for money, Honeydew's rushing out because Scrooge is getting mad at him. Steve Whitmer, as Beaker, his first time playing Beaker, goes, me, 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 and flips him off. So give it a look.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, and now that you're bringing them up, so I guess fourth moment, even though it could be pushed up into the third, is Penny for the Song Governor.
Yeah.
That's top 3.
Yeah.
Damn
Yeah.
it.
What's the name of that song that the bunny is singing?
Good King's Wenceslas?
That's it. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Good King Wenceslas down on the feast of Stephen.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Rightly shone the moon that night.
When I hear that song, I only think of the bunny.
It kills me that Kane, as Scrooge, kicks the bunny.
Yes.
It kills me.
Yeah. Bean Bunny is up there for me as one of my favorites.
The shivering bunny.
Dude.
it breaks my heart
I felt
every
it.
fucking time.
Because it actually took me it was like a head turn kind of moment. Because everything was going along in the movie, or I'm watching the movie, and then you see the shivering bunny in the newspaper, and you're like, oh, that's really sad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Even as a little kid, I was like, that was a Bean Bunny. No.
Yeah.
No, poor Bean. Why is he so mean to Bean? You know?
And Scrooge couldn't give him a penny.
Right.
Damn it. Give him a penny for the song, Governor.
And then Beaker gives him the scarf at the end.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That image of Scrooge in all black with the bright red scarf is just so like It's perfect.
The turning with the turkey that Bean Bunny does.
Yes.
In that scene where they're going from side to side.
Yeah.
And the movement, so good. It's so good to me. It's and you have to imagine the sheer amount of work that all of these sets were done. You have essentially 6-foot trenches, and
Everything's built up.
and there's a literally a catwalk where all the humans just walk on a board that is like supported because the Muppets have to walk through with them, and so like everything you see, and there's Michael Caine walking with the Muppets, and he's walking at a piece of board that's maybe 4 inches wide, which is wild.
So, hearing your guys' point of view, I'll have to give this one more watch, at least. And if I watch it one more time, maybe I'll want to watch it one more. And because watching it this time, it was my first time. So
Did you? So questions. Did you watch it as a family?
No, I watched it by myself.
By yourself?
I wanted to take the proper notes.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, hearing your points of views, your different takes, and all that stuff. So I'll have to give this another go. So come next year, I'll watch it again.
I find it disheartening that it seems like it's a chore for you to want to watch it again.
Well, no, it just
he came up in a different time in a different house too. You were in a Muppet house.
Well, I was a Muppet Babies house.
Yeah.
God, I love the Muppet Babies.
I watched Muppet Babies all the time. But,
sure.
The Muppets movie in '79 came out 6 years before I was born.
Right.
So, I wasn't truly. I was a Sesame Street kid.
Right.
But yeah, Muppet Babies for sure, and then Treasure Island Muppets. It was like, oh yeah, I'm back in.
Right, but you were like 10 then, so that was perfect.
Yeah.
Right.
So, in a way, Treasure Island is how you would relate to what I would relate to this.
Sure. Yeah, and I think that makes sense. So now,
although I don't know if you hold Treasure Island as high in regard as I hold this movie.
No. No, but it was fun, and God damn it, Tim Curry, yeah.
Yes.
He's fantastic.
Maybe it goes without saying, but
I think I came out of the womb watching Muppets.
Probably.
Muppets.
I don't want to think about the womb.
Muppets have always been a part of my life since like day one. Like we had the original. My dad taped every single special, and we'd watch on Nick at Night the actual Muppet show.
Sure.
And so Follow That Bird and the Muppet movie and Moving Right Along was always in the house. And then
Follow That Bird is the first movie I ever saw in the movie theater.
Like I said, John Denver and the Muppets, the Christmas special was like my first Muppets Christmas special.
What year was that?
That one is 78.
I was going to say 78.
78 or
Might be
79?
77.
I'd like to watch that.
I'll send you a link.
Great. So I don't, like Randy, you said that, you'll watch it again probably next year.
Yeah.
Which is great. I tend not to, like I said in the open, rewatch Christmas movies.
Yeah.
Like I almost never put on a Christmas movie for myself, unless it's Bad Santa or this one. Not to say that I don't like other Christmas movies. Home Alone is a 10.
Yeah.
Bad Santa, is up there. We were all just laughing about that one before we hit record.
It's a 9. Yeah.
It's at least a 9.
The Ice Harvest is, because of Oliver Platt alone, is an 8.
And so great. There's plenty of good ones, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think Love Actually is in my top 10.
It's damn good.
So,
it's pretty good.
I don't know. Like, if we're ranking Christmas movies, like all of those are great, but none of them compare to this one, for me.
Okay. You agree with that?
Well, you like Christmas movies more than I do.
Here's the problem.
Yeah. I think of the three of us, I like Christmas movies the least.
Yeah.
In the grand scheme here.
Here's the problem. At one point in time, maybe 12, 15 years ago, I was like, I want to at least own, if not see, as many Christmas movies as I possibly can. And so I just collected.
You started hoarding them?
I collected.
So chalk it up to how we're raised or whatever the fuck it is, because I'm very similar, where I'm a sucker for a Christmas flick.
Right.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, though, until recently, there's been a moratorium on Christmas movies up until November. We actually, during the pandemic, we started early because we needed a little bit of, goodness in our life. And so we were like, Christmas movies, that's it.
Oh, yeah.
But by the time Christmas got there, we were so burnt out on Christmas. It was like, this is awful. Why would we ever do this again?
I work in retail. My Christmas starts in September.
Well, that's the problem.
I'm over it.
Yeah.
Even,
that's the problem.
A month ago,
so
I
if
was
you didn't
over it.
have that, maybe it'd be a little bit better for you. But,
I agree. There was a time in my life when Christmas was the best day of the year.
Yeah.
So the best part for me about Christmas right now is being able to share Christmas movies with my wife and you guys that you've never seen before that I have watched over and over again, or even specials. Like I said, the Jim Henson and John Denver, like the original. The second one's not great. The original, like that's a favorite to me because like we were talking about it. I have VHSs still loaded with like She-Man and He-Ra.
Hell yeah.
Your He-Man and She-Ra. Sorry. I finished my cup of holiday cheer and it's
so
still
funny because I knew what you were talking about, and I gave you my hell yeah after you said the wrong thing.
He-Man and She-Ra.
And I was sat here thinking, that's not right.
That's not right. So,
hell yeah, keep going.
There's a claymation Christmas with the California raisins that probably nobody's ever seen.
I remember that shit.
You do?
Yes,
Okay.
I watched it too. I was a big Raisins kid.
Yes, so was I.
So like, there's a lot of things that I get to share.
Pee-wee's Christmas?
Oh yeah, Pee-wee's is a big one.
Hell yeah.
There are things that I get to share, like desk set with my wife.
I don't know what that is.
Nobody does.
Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn.
Spencer Tracy does not have the better Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
No, he does
not. That
not.
goes to Frederick March.
That is very true.
Anyway, go ahead.
It's kind of cute. It's very meet cute for old people.
Okay.
But like, it's the magic of sharing the things that I grew up with and that I loved.
I have that same thing
with my wife
Yeah.
and with my friends, and that's why I was like, I'm going to 15 years ago. I'm just going to collect Christmas movies, and like I have maybe 4 or 5 hard drives full of Christmas movies.
That's a lot of hard drive.
It's about that magic for me, and so there's so many great Christmas movies that there's so many bad Christmas movies. After I watched the terrible one with John Denver, it's exactly like a Hallmark. He's a architect, and he gets sent to this town in Colorado, and it's his job to scope out the town so that this big company can swoop in and buy up the land in the town to make it into condominiums and all this other stuff. And he's finally gets a heart, and he's like, no, we're not going to do that, and we're going to save this town. It's so Hallmark, it's not even funny. But afterwards,
not on his Rocky Mountain Watch.
Right. So after that, played the next one. It's Art Carney as Santa. I think we talked about this before. Mm-hmm. But the family is in the North Pole, and they're drilling for oil, and he's using a lot of dynamite, and it's messing up the North Pole. And Paul Williams is also in this one. It's called The Night They Saved Christmas or something. The Day They Saved Christmas. It's absolutely awful. But
That sounds terrible.
it's so bad, but it's so much fun.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. Paul Williams? Come on.
I love Paul Williams.
Sure.
I have standards.
Well, let's wrap this up. I want to hear what your rating is.
Okay, well, actually, so talking with you guys, and I don't think I've ever done this before.
You're changing your score right now?
I'm just going to raise it a little bit.
All right.
Because my original score was a 6 out of 10.
Get off! God, it hurts so bad.
I can see it.
It hurts. It hurts.
But I'm going to raise it up to a 6.5.
Oh, that's nice of you.
Just a half a
jeez.
score. So I wasn't raised on the Muppet Christmas Carol. So watching it this time, I definitely see the appeal.
Sure.
As a kid. But I watched it for the first time at 38. I wasn't a kid. But I see the appeal. I see the fun. I see Kane as Scrooge, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I'm not a musical guy, which also is, it doesn't...
It factors in, I bet.
So, with the songs and the singing, with Muppet singing versus people singing is way better.
Yeah.
I'll watch Muppet singing all day long.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah, I'll raise it up to a 6.5.
So here's my question. Say your daughter and your wife go, we heard you talking about Muppets Christmas Carol. Will you watch this again with us this year?
Oh, I'd watch it again
Will
tomorrow.
you watch this with them?
Yeah. And that's the thing. You're talking about the movies that you watch, and,
Yeah.
I'm a rewatcher.
Yeah.
And if Morgan wanted to watch it tomorrow, I'm in. I'll watch it. It was cute. It was fun. There's no reason not to rewatch it. I didn't hate it. So I'll rewatch it, yeah.
Uncle Dew, where do you... I know you said it might be your favorite Christmas Carol. It's your third favorite Christmas Muppet. But I'm curious what that translates to.
7.5.
7. That seems low to me.
Yeah, it's only 1 whole point higher than mine.
7.5. Why? Is there a reason for that?
It has its problems. There's some issues. Like I said, watching it over again with a little bit more discerning eye. There's some stuff I'm like, well, why did we have to do that? To Randy's point, that whole end could be a little bit longer. I want it a little bit more drawn out towards the end.
It felt quick.
Yeah.
I didn't mind.
Yeah.
As you know. I don't mind anything.
As I've gotten older and as they keep pumping out Henson products, I'm really feeling a nostalgia for pre-90s Muppets.
You can't let that influence, though.
It does, though, because my Kermit...
less corporate, more wholesome?
Well, not just that. Like, only half of these Muppets sound right to me.
Oh. Well, okay.
So even by this time, it's 92, you're 8 years old, and they still don't sound right to you?
No.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And even now, like, so Apple redid the Fraggles, and Fraggles I hold very high in my heart. The Bells of Fraggles is one of my favorite Christmas specials.
Of course it is.
Top 10 probably of TV specials.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But watching that and watching the new Fraggles, none of those Fraggles sound right. And so it's one of those situations where I absolutely loved what Siegel did. And Siegel brought that Jim Henson magic that really wasn't there over the past 20 some odd years. Yeah, we got it a little bit with Carol. Yeah, we got it a little bit more with, or not a little bit more, a little bit with Treasure Island. But everything from Treasure Island forward was just recycled crap that they put out.
Muppets from Space?
Muppets from Space.
I cried a little bit for that.
Muppets...
Everybody, including the Leprechaun, went to space.
Muppets Wizard of Oz, Muppets Letters to Santa,
Yeah.
Muppets Red and Green. Like, it all was just putting it out because we own this IP. It's even that way right now. Like that Muppet show that they did recently in the Electric Mayhem. Electric Mayhem's really good. Everybody kind of sounds the way that they should be. I miss Jim's Dr. Teeth, but it's still one of those things where it's this corporate entity saying, we have the IP for this, instead of going, why don't we create new IP? Let's create a new generation, like Brian himself is trying to do with his Puppet Up and stuff. It's sort of improv comedy with puppets. He even did that weird one with Melissa McCarthy.
Something Murders. The Happy Time Murders?
Right.
Yeah.
All original IP. There was no true Muppets in that. There's no reason why you couldn't create new IP with a new world for a new generation. We don't have to keep going back to the well with Muppets. You don't have to hit that member berry with people my age. Make something your own. Make something new. Make something ingenious.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why it gets a 7.5 now, because even then I was like, this is okay, but I'm still sad because my friend Jim isn't Kermit anymore. You know, like I watched Jim Henson's Hour every weekend, Jim Henson's Storyteller, which used to scare the absolute shit out of me. And so, you know, it
was it PBS?
No, it was NBC.
Okay.
And so, yeah, so you know, even as a kid, there was still something wasn't right. But like Randy had said, the Ghost of Christmas Present, the floating, like as an 8-year-old, I was going, how did they do that? How did they make her look like that? Now I'm like, that's some fucking technical shit. Like even reading, you know, the recent biography of Jim Henson, and they talk about how Jim was in a fucking oil barrel when Kermit's singing Rainbow Connection in the swamp, and they literally had to unfold him after they brought him out of the oil barrel, because he was stuck there for like 4 hours singing Rainbow Connection with Kermit. Like, the technical side of everything is just so, even as a little kid, I was just like, I don't know what this is, but all of it is magic and creative, and I absolutely love it. And so when my good friend Jim's not in it, and that magic, like, I even understood when Kermit's walking with Robin, right? I knew that was new and innovative. I was in awe, and I was like, that is technically, there's something about this. This is fantastic. But ever since then, it's like always a little bit peace, a little bit of creativity, a little bit of heart is missing from everything that they put out because of that.
That's pretty deep.
I find all of your corporate arguments to be completely irrelevant because in 1992, none of that existed. And yes, I understand your relationship with your friend Jim. As much as I enjoyed the Muppet Babies and I had seen all of the films prior, Manhattan was my favorite of the original ones. I didn't rewatch them very regularly.
Yeah.
I enjoyed Fraggle Rock. I liked all of the stuff, but this one is the one that hit me in a way that I'd never been hit before.
Sure.
And it was the music, it was the puppets, it was Michael Caine, it was the story, it was me crying over Tiny Tim.
Yeah.
It was all of it. And I was 12 years old, and it was the right, like at 12, I didn't know the difference
Sure.
between old Muppets and new Muppets.
Yeah.
And this was the greatest thing that I'd ever seen.
Sure.
This is our last podcast, I guess, of 2023.
Yeah.
It's the last of the Christmas series. I feel it only appropriate that I put the first 10 on the board. So I'm doing it. It will live as a 10 until the day I die.
Okay.
And that has not happened yet, and it might not ever again.
It might not.
But I'm very passionate about it, and it makes me sad that you only put it at a 6.5.
We saw it however many years apart. But you brought it this week, for our last series in the Christmas holiday series. So yeah, I guess this closes it out, right?
Yep, it's been a fun first year.
Yeah.
We appreciate everybody being on board with us, and
Can't believe we've been doing this for 7 months already.
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
It's crazy. I can't believe that.
All from a funny, stupid message one November.
Wouldn't this be a fun idea?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this has been fun so far. So we'll see what 2024 has in store. In the meantime,
You never know.
dial us up on all that social media that you like and love.
Yeah, and for everybody that has given us a listen in 2023, everybody that voted or interacted with us on social media, super thankful to anybody that really gives us the time of day and listens to what we have to say.
We're just three schmucks that like movies.
We
appreciate
hear
you.
your comments. We see you're listening. We pay attention to our analytics.
You hear the comments and see the listening.
And it matters to us. And just thank you very much for all that you guys do.
All right, that's it for...
Until next time,
Yeah, we will see you all next year.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yep. And bless us all.